quits their career in biomechanical engineering to take a chance at pursuing a photography hobby as a full-time job. Kevin Liu does. 2 years after the transition and fresh off of New York Fashion Week, the Instagram famous photographer joins me to talk about his picture-perfect success. Kevin, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. What made you think about leaving your career in engineering to pursue what at the time was really just kind of a hobby?
Well, I did it because I wanted to have fun. I wanted to see the world. As an engineer, I used to be an engineer. As an engineer, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't see anything. I didn't meet anyone. So when I found this whole photography thing, it really just brought me outside, and I got to see the world firsthand. And I just wanted to do more of it. So I decided to quit my job 2 years ago, and I toured around the entire country for 2 months. We were wandering around on the road homelessly to photograph the country. So
that's really cool. So what was like the moment that you consider like you having made it in photography?
That I've made it?
Yeah. Like
I don't know about that yet. I'm still getting there, but that it's always just so very unexpected, and because sometimes I'll be doing something very cool, and then I'll be doing something even cooler next week. So the whole thing with being on social media is, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of interesting gigs recently, and I enjoyed a lot of them. For example, I went to Detroit. I got to see Detroit for the first time with Chevy, GM, and last week I was shooting Fashion Week with Vogue.
Yeah.
So that was just incredible.
Yeah.
I bought my first camera 3 years ago, and now I'm backstage, Fashion Week, taking photos for Vogue.
Crazy. You never could have imagined that that's where this would take you.
No.
So let's talk about that. Fresh off of Fashion Week, you've worked with brands like you said, Vogue, Coach, GM, Facebook.
Apple.
How do you land partnerships or working arrangements with brands like that? How do you do that?
So a lot of times brands reach out to me directly, either in-house or through agencies. But it really depends. But there are agencies that are built to bridge people like me with brands. For Chevrolet, for GM, that was through an agency called Niche. Mm-hmm. They specialize in this area. But a lot of times when I work with Apple, they found me because all my photos on my Instagram are iPhone.
Which is incredible, because your pictures, you would never guess that you only take them on an iPhone.
Well, pictures and videos. So, Apple found me directly because they just, I guess they found my photo on social media. And also Coach is through, referral, just building relationships with people. And also, I guess social media helps because, you never know who's looking at your stuff out there, and it's out there in the public. So
talk about a little bit what you do for those brands, like what you do for Apple and why you were in Detroit recently for GM.
Okay, so Chevy sent me to Detroit to do something called influencer marketing or something like that. So what I did for GM was I went there on a sponsored trip, and I shared photos of what I saw in Detroit, and GM treated me like a VIP. We went to their unveiling of the new Chevy Bolt. Went to the press event, the whole auto show, international auto show, and then they took us to their factory, Warren Powertrain, to see how the cars are made. So we had a bunch of photo ops to take photos of things that people normally don't get to see, and in return, they pay for our trips, they compensated me, and I had to mention the sponsorship on my Instagram.
Where does your inspiration come from? Obviously, this was not the career path that you set out to do.
Right.
So how do you take that leap of faith? Where does your inspiration come from?
Well, like I said, in the beginning, I just wanted to travel. That's all I wanted to do, because I was an engineer, like I said. I've only been to Japan when I was really young. In my adulthood, I was caught on. I was in school. I was working. I just never traveled. And when I started doing Instagram, it really brought me closer to people who really enjoy doing things that I enjoy. You know, having brunches, donuts, coffee, like going places, just exploring, seeing the world, and just having a good time and sharing. So that added on to what I initially wanted to do, to make landscape photos. My biggest inspiration is definitely Ansel Adams in terms of photography. But I say to people all the time, Instagram is really not about photography anymore. It's a lifestyle. It's who you are. You can share whatever you want to. There's no rule of what you want to do on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I find that very liberating because it's me, and it's very personal, and people get to see what I see, and people get to see me. So from there, it just kind of snowballed on its own.
Crazy. So you have lots of different titles: photographer, content producer, social influencer, Instagrammer. What's been your biggest lesson through this entire journey?
Oh, that's a tough question. I would say the biggest lesson is to never confine yourself to one thing. Keep an open mind. Always try something new. That's my one thing. I want to just keep doing things that haven't been done before. Everything has been done in one way or another, but I want to do my thing. I want to do things that I think is different.
Yeah.
And that's very challenging because as a creative person, like I said, a lot of times I'm just reinventing the wheels. But there's a lot of mixing and matching, just like trying different things together and trying different combinations. But I would say just keep trying. Do something you haven't done yesterday.
Yeah. That's great advice.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, I have to ask. You've taken some pretty incredible pictures. It's been crazy cold and snowy in New York lately, and you've taken some great pictures, really capturing the snow. I feel like on an iPhone camera, especially, you can't do that. How do you capture that detail?
Well, it's really about the light. You have to find the perfect light. When it's super bright outside, middle of the day, it's going to be ugly. And you have to. It's all about timing. You have to, obviously, if you want to shoot snow, you have to go out when it's snowing.
Yeah.
And not that many people do that. That's why you don't end up with those. Yeah, that's why you don't end up with those photos. I'm out there at 2 o'clock in the middle of the blizzard, Times Square, just walking around. So that's how I got that shot that nobody had because they were all at home.
Yeah. So the trick is being out in it. Don't take it through the window.
The trick, yeah. Well, that's one of the tricks. I can't give it all out, but
don't give away all your secrets.
Be there, right time, right place.
That makes sense. Kevin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.